Hi everyone, I'm Gauthier, and welcome to this very special production, remembering Chelsey Lee Gauthier after 6 years. I come to you from a very beautiful place here in Hornbrook, California, just off the I-5. This is a great rest area, and there's a beautiful river right here. First thing in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll walk along the river and I'll just look at the river as it makes its way. For those of you that are viewing for the very first time, my daughter Chelsey Lee Gauthier lost her life in 2017 to a brutal, evil man that took her life in a very violent way. The police apprehended him, arrested him last year after 5 years of investigation. And during that time, I did not have a whole lot of hope that the police were actually going to catch this guy. 5 years later, and he's still nothing. And the police would continue to say, sorry, the case is, it's moving forward, it's moving forward. That's what they tell me, that's what they would tell me constantly, it's moving forward. And after 5 years, you start to lose a little bit of faith in the police system. Well, they did arrest him. They had enough evidence together, and after all those years, they finally arrested him, and he is now at pre-trial in Surrey, where he's awaiting trial. He's been there in jail now, I would say pretty close to a year now, awaiting trial. And you're probably wondering, well, why is he sitting there so long? Why don't they just get to it? Well, our system out here in Canada is a lot different than anywhere else. Unless you have 100% evidence, they can't even arrest a man. This is why it took so long. They had to make sure that the evidence was 100%, or they would just throw the case out. So they did make the arrest. I do believe it was last year. And again, he sits at Surrey pre-trial awaiting trial. And there has been some delay because he has fired several lawyers. I guess his lawyers have told him, hey, I'm assuming this. I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm assuming they have been telling him, you don't have a case. This is what's going to come out of this. And he has fired one after another. And I don't know if the judge has finally said, hey, listen, you're going to stay with the lawyer that you have. Because I do know now there are certain dates, there are hearings, there is, I don't know the terminology, but there is some dates to set another date for a pre-trial or whatever it is. I don't know all the details. All I know is that man is behind bars and he can't hurt another young lady. And he had a habit of doing this. This man had a criminal record this long. Arson, assault, you name it. But yet this man was still walking the street. Don't ask me why. And it took for him to take the life of a young lady for them to finally put him behind bars. Now that he is in jail and awaiting trial, and the evidence has already been brought before the Crown Counsel, I can share with you my assumptions on what I think happened. You see, this gentleman by the name of Gary had a bad habit of, well, first of all, he had a marijuana plant. I wouldn't say it was a farm. It was probably like maybe a dozen plants up in the Mission area in British Columbia. And he would invite young ladies, this man's in his 60s, okay? He would invite young ladies to go up with him and cut plants. And then I heard stories that he would also try to hit on these young ladies. And I've talked to some of these ladies and they've told me that they would more or less say, forget it, we're out of here. And nothing really came of it, but he had a habit of I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible, try to take advantage of them while he was up there with them alone. Well, he invited Chelsey to go up, and I guess she went up there before. And he promised her this, he promised her that, and I know Chelsey shouldn't have been involved with that stuff. And now that it's legal in Canada, marijuana doesn't make it right. It just doesn't. Just because it's legalized by a government doesn't make it right. So in July of 2017, she decided to accept his invite to go back up to Mission again and cut more plants. So she went up by herself with him. Well, I don't know all the details. I don't really know what happened. I'm just assuming that he must have tried to make some advance on her, because Chelsey is not the violent type. She's a jokester. She has fun. She's a very loving, kind-spirited young lady. And there's no way she would have been violent or caused a fight or caused any kind of a, she just wasn't the scrapper type. She was a peacemaker. And I'm assuming while they were up there, he tried to make a move on her and she rejected him. And maybe she kicked him in a spot where it hurts men the most, and he just exploded and lost his temper on her. And she was stabbed by him, and I do believe it was multiple times. And then he just decided to bury her in a shallow grave and walk away. 5 years later, he gets arrested. I don't know how that man could have walked the streets for 5 years with that on his conscience. Now, again, I'm just assuming that's what's happened. I don't know all the details. And honestly, when the trial does make it to the public, the details of the trial, I am going to be not wanting to know all the details, but I might want to know if what I'm assuming is right around the same thing. He advanced onto her, but I don't see him admitting this. I don't see him admitting anything. According to an individual I was talking to with the police, he claims not to be even a citizen of this world. I don't know. There's a name for that. I can't remember what it is. And if he hasn't owned up to what he's done, he's never going to. He will probably spend the rest of his years behind bars. And he's probably in protective custody right now, because prisoners even have access to the internet. Prisoners even have access to the news. I don't think he's very favored in there for killing a young girl and left 2 children without a mother. I'm pretty sure he's not favored in that prison, or should I say in that pretrial. And when he goes to jail, when he goes to prison, I don't think it's going to be any better for him. But I can honestly tell you, as a Christian, I hope this man repents. I really do, because everything that's gone on this planet, as for him, the things he's done, the time he spent in jail, the time he will spend in prison, possibly beat up, possibly, who knows what's going to happen with him. It is absolutely nothing compared to what he will face when he faces God, and he spends an eternity in the lake of fire. Can't even imagine what that will be like. And it's not just a short time, it's eternity. It is an eternity. It lasts forever. And I have prayed for the man, and I have forgiven the man. And some of you might think, well, how can you forgive somebody that's killed your daughter? The Bible says if you cannot forgive another, you will not be forgiven. And when you do forgive someone, there is healing in your heart. There is strength that comes from forgiving another person. I don't like what this man did, but the thing is, I know I'll see my daughter again. But he will never see Jesus. Well, yes, he will. Actually, he'll see him when he stands before him, and Jesus says, "Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness." And taking another life of a human being and living the life that he's lived, I can only imagine what his judgment will be. Or should I say, I can't even imagine. And I also want to thank again the law enforcement involved in this case, the Abbotsford Law Enforcement Mission, the Surrey Detachment, the counselors, Love Preet. She was the counselor that talked to me over and over and over in the last several years on this case, tried to reassure me that the police were doing their job. They all did a phenomenal job putting this man behind bars, and I just want to publicly say thank you for the work that you did to put this creep behind bars where he can't hurt anybody else. And I hope the evidence is so overwhelming that he never gets out. And I say that because he might only get 20 years and the guy might have a longevity until he's 90. And I can only hope that doesn't happen. Someone who takes the life of another human being should lose their own life, in my opinion. I wish Canada did have the death penalty. But in this case, you should never, ever see a regular sidewalk again. Now on to lighter things. Recently, I had an opportunity to spend some time with Chelsey's little girls. The first week of this month, we went on a little trip to go visit Autumn and Abby, plus Scott and Kristen and the whole family, and spent 3 or 4 days together at a beautiful place called Browns Bay in Campbell River. Just a gorgeous place. And let me tell you something. Just spending time with those beautiful girls was just, it was just so nice, because you can really see Chelsey in both those girls. So the first week of July, we decided to head to Vancouver Island in the Campbell River area to spend some time camping out with Autumn and Abby and Scott and Kristen and their family, and it was such a fun time. We were right along the ocean. It was just a gorgeous view. And there was one time that we were there and there was a massive cruise ship that came through, and I thought, wow, I gotta get a shot of that. There was one thing that happened that was really funny. Abby was doing some coloring in a coloring book, and she decided to color her face with the markers. So my daughter Carrie says, "Are you coloring your face?"
Why do you have funny orange stuff on your face?
On her face.
I'm getting something.
No, what are you getting?
I'm getting my pen.
Your what?
My pen.
No, you don't need your pen to draw on your face more, Abby.
No. Oh, is that what you are? Is that what's on your face? You were drawing on your face?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Come on, let's go.
Try to wipe away the
Come here.
evidence.
So I decided to take her over to the sink and wash her face, and she had other things in mind.
Right there.
I want you to wash your hands on your face. Look how good that's gonna feel. See? Here.
Yeah, she stole my GoPro and ran off with it. I'll tell you what I'm absolutely most grateful for out of this whole tragedy is that Chelsey left us 2 little ladies. And in these little ladies, you could see Chelsey in them constantly. I see Chelsey's creativity and artistic side of her. Her talents seem to show more, anyway, from what I see in Autumn. I mean, Abby is artistic and creative too, but it really, really shines in Autumn. And I see the jokester side of Chelsey, the one who used to like to play practical jokes and laugh and giggle. I see that more in Abby. So it's really beautiful that even though Chelsey's not here, Chelsey is still with us, with those little ladies. Scott and Kristen have been watching those girls, I think even before 2017, I would say maybe 15 or 16. But they have been a rock. They have been very good parents to these little ladies. And it's amazing how Autumn and Abby have grown. I remember when this whole thing started, Abby was just a little one. You guys might remember. She was just tiny in 2017, and now she's such a big girl. Same thing with Autumn. Autumn is growing like crazy. That girl's gonna be a basketball player.
Only one. I haven't had a lot of sugar this
I know you haven't. We behaved. Okay, back up. Don't let the wood catch fire.
So I thank Kristen and Scott for doing such an amazing job on those girls. I think they're a little on the spoiled side, but I can't blame them because those little girls are cute as the dickens, and how can you really say no to them when they give you that look? Because Chelsey used to do that to me all the time. When she wanted something, it was like... So again, it was a really nice week spending time with the girls. And it makes me miss Chelsey a lot less, even though I still miss her a lot. If she wouldn't have had those 2 little girls, there would have been something that would have been just really missing every year that we would do this. and I can get on the phone anytime I want. I mean, I don't do it enough because I'm not a huge phone person when it comes to talking to young girls, because you never know what to say and they lose interest so fast. So your phone call lasts about 3 minutes, and I do admit I have to do it more. This time of the year is very sad for me because you never forget about something like this. You just learn to live with it. For anybody that has lost a loved one in a tragic way, unexpected, it's very, very devastating. Especially if it's a murder and it's your child. You never get over it. You learn to live with it. And I hope that through these videos and through the strength that God has given me to get through this, it'll help others that might have gone through something very similar. Well, I could talk about Chelsey and her girls forever, but we have to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and I'm hoping next year, when we do this again, I'll be able to tell you this man has been put away for good. Until next time, my dear friends, God bless all of you in the name of Yeshua. Bye for now.
Empty spaces fill me up with holes, distant faces with no place left to go. Without you within me, I can't find no rest. Where I'm going, is anybody's guess? I tried to go on like I never knew you. I'm awake, but my world is half asleep. I pray for this heart to be unbroken, but without you all I'm going to be is incomplete. Voices tell me I should carry on, but I am swimming in an ocean all alone. Baby, my baby, it's written on your face. You still wonder if we made